The Supreme Court just redrew the gun rights battlefield without a full trial, without weeks of arguments, and with an 8-1 emergency ruling that most Americans completely missed. This wasn't a normal Supreme Court decision. This was a warning. Shot, and if you think this only affects Missouri, you're already behind. Tonight, we break down what really happened, why this ruling matters nationwide, and how it changes the future of the Second Amendment fight forever. What the Supreme Court's 8-1 emergency decision actually says, why Missouri's law became ground zero, how this ruling affects gun owners, manufacturers, and states. What happens next, and what you should be watching closely. Stay with us, because the legal terrain is shifting fast. Chapter 1. The law that started at Idleland 2021. Missouri passed something called the Second Amendment Preservation Act, STAC. The idea was simple, at least on paper. Missouri declared that certain federal gun laws were unconstitutional, and said state officials should not help enforce them. The law even threatened fines up to $50,000 against state and local officers who cooperated with federal gun enforcement, supporters said. This was about protecting gun rights. Critics said it was outright nullification of federal law. And that's where the real fight began. Chapter 2. Federal government pushes B.A. Sakatha. Federal government didn't hesitate. They challenged Missouri's law under the Supremacy Clause, which says federal law overrides conflicting state law. In 2024, the Eighth Circuit Court of Appeals struck Missouri's law down, calling it unconstitutional. Missouri then asked the Supreme Court for an emergency stay, hoping to keep the law alive while the case continued. That emergency request led to one of the most important and unexpected Supreme Court orders in recent gun law history. Chapter 3. The 8-1 Supreme Court ORDR. The Supreme Court said no. By an 8-1 vote, the court refused to allow Missouri's law to take effect. Only Justice Clarence Thomas dissented. This is significant. Gun cases often split narrowly, 5-4, sometimes 6-3, but 8-1. That sends a message. The court wasn't ruling on the full merits yet, but it made something very clear. States cannot simply opt out of federal gun laws. That alone changes the legal landscape. Chapter 4. Why this ruling is DIF-free and teeth. This decision doesn't rewrite the Second Amendment. Instead, it reshapes the structure underneath it. The court is saying, you can challenge federal gun laws, you can debate them in court, but cannot block enforcement through state legislation that shuts down. An entire strategy many states were relying on. This wasn't flashy, but structurally, it's huge. Chapter 5. What this means for gun OWA, arrests for everyday gun owners. The message is subtle, but important. State laws claiming to shield you from federal enforcement may not protect you the way you think. Federal law still applies. Federal enforcement still applies, and states can't legally interfere. This means gun owners must now pay closer attention to federal rules. It's not just state promises. The battlefield just expanded. Chapter 6. Impact on manufacturers and arrayed. ELS for manufacturers and retailers. This ruling brings clarity and caution. SAF-style laws created chaos. Conflicting enforcement, legal uncertainty, risky compliance decisions now. Businesses have stronger footing to argue that federal standards must prevail. Ironically, this ruling may stabilize parts of the firearms industry by reducing state-level legal experiments. Consistency becomes an advantage. Chapter 7. States hit the BRAIC. States watching. Missouri just took a step back. Lawmakers in places like Texas, Florida, and Idaho are now reassessing their plans. Some SAPA style. Bills are being rewritten. Others are being quietly shelved. No state wants to spend years defending a law the Supreme Court already signaled skepticism toward. This ruling caused hesitation, and hesitation changes momentum. Chapter 8. Courts are already REACTA and lower courts across the country are already citing this decision. Judges are asking, does this law interfere with federal enforcement? Does it conflict with the Supremacy Clause? Expect faster rulings. Expect more challenges. Expect momentum to shift. This one order is already accelerating litigation nationwide. Chapter 9. The Second Amendment. Angel hears the paradox. This ruling may actually strengthen long-term Second Amendment protections by reinforcing a stable legal structure. It prevents chaotic workarounds that weaken constitutional arguments. Future Second Amendment cases now stand on firmer ground, clearer rules, cleaner challenges. It's not dramatic, but it's foundational. Chapter 10. What gun owners must do. Unknowed. Blue gun owners can't rely on symbolism anymore. Now is the time to stay informed on federal enforcement. Track court cases in your state. Support organizations actually filing lawsuits. Understand. The federal-state balance. Where you live, rights aren't preserved by slogans. They're preserved by vigilance. The fight. That this case isn't the end. It's the opening move in a larger constitutional reckoning. States will try new strategies. Courts will refine boundaries. Congress may re-enter the debate. Every decision from here builds precedent. Final CTA and CLOS. The battlefield has changed. The stakes have grown. If you want to stay ahead of the legal shifts shaping gun rights across America, don't just watch, engage. Like this video. Subscribe for real legal breakdowns, and comment below with your states so we can track how this ruling affects you. The rules are evolving. Will you stay informed or get left behind?